For more than 20 years, the Q7 was the SUV that gave Audi its place at the top of the range. It was the biggest, the most expensive, the one that carried the brand into a segment it had never competed in before. With this third generation, that role is quietly changing. The Q7 is no longer Audi's flagship combustion SUV. That title now passes to the upcoming Q9. What you are looking at is a car that has been repositioned, slotted into the space between the smaller Q5 and the full-size Q9. And that shift tells you almost everything about who this new Q7 is built for. It is no longer trying to be the largest thing Audi makes. It is trying to be the smartest size in the lineup. The car wears a completely new look, and the front end is where you notice it first. The 4 rings in the hood now sit noticeably higher, which makes the whole front of the SUV feel taller and more imposing than before. The single-frame grille is grown into a large octagonal shape, flanked by redesigned air intakes that give it a wider, more planted stance. Above the grille, split daytime running lights stretch across the nose, and below them sit the digital matrix LED headlights. I find this front end far more confident than the car it replaces. The old Q7 had started to look soft. This one looks like it knows exactly what it is. Walk around the side and the new shoulder line does a lot of the work. It rises toward the rear and feeds into Audi's signature Quattro blisters above the wheel arches, which then taper into a more upright rear pillar. That upright pillar is not just a styling choice. It gives the roofline a nearly flat profile, and that translates directly into more headroom inside, especially for passengers in the back. At the rear, the third-generation digital OLED taillights run into a full-width light strip that splits the tailgate visually and makes the Q7 instantly recognizable after dark. There is even a new option for automatic doors, with sensors that stop a door if it senses an obstacle and a soft close mechanism that pulls each one gently shut. That lighting is more than decoration, and this is the part I did not expect to find as interesting as I did. Audi has tied the headlights and taillights directly into the driver assistance systems. The car can project warnings onto the road ahead of you. If you are about to change lanes and there is a vehicle in your blind spot, a light cue appears in your field of view. On roads where ice is possible, the Q7 can briefly project an ice crystal symbol onto the surface in front of you. And there is a genuine world first here. A turn signal that is projected onto the ground at night, in sync with the indicators, so cyclists and pedestrians beside the car can see which way it is about to go. If details like this are the reason you watch these breakdowns, subscribe so the next one finds you. It is the kind of feature that sounds like a gimmick, until you imagine pulling out of a junction in the dark next to a cyclist, and then it makes complete sense. Inside is where the Q7 makes its real case, because this is a car built around space and flexibility more than around any single spec. For the first time, you can have the Q7 with 5, 6, or 7 seats. The 5-seater is the standard layout, but the new option is a pair of individual seats in the second row, which turns it into a 6-seater with a genuine business class feel for the people sitting behind you. The 7-seat layout is still available, and Audi points out that the second row can take 3 child seats side by side, which is the kind of practical detail that actually decides a family purchase. Every seat is electrically adjustable. There is also a comfort entry feature, so a child seat fitted in the second row does not block access to the third, which anyone who has wrestled with a rear seat while holding a toddler will appreciate immediately. Climb into the second row, and the space is the first thing that registers. With the new individual seats, the people back there get their own armrests, their own air vents, and enough legroom to stretch out on a long drive, which is exactly what you want from a car that will spend its life ferrying a family. The diamond-stitched leather and the contoured headrests make the back of this cabin feel like somewhere you would happily sit for hours, not just somewhere the kids get dropped. Fold the third row flat and the whole rear opens into a long, usable load floor, and that flexibility is the real point of a car like this. You buy it because it can be a 5-seater one day and a 7-seater the next without any drama. The dashboard carries Audi's latest design language, with the curved MMI panoramic display running the digital instruments and the central touchscreen together under one piece of glass. A passenger display is standard, and it has a privacy mode, so the person in the front seat can watch video without distracting the driver. The materials are where you sit and immediately understand the price. There is a new premium textile package that combines alpaca fiber with leather, and the alpaca even extends to the door panels and the underside of the dashboard. It is not overdone, which is important in a car like this. Audi has resisted the urge to cover every surface in screens and gloss. The software side has grown up too. There is now an Audi App Store built into the car, with apps for music, video, navigation, parking, and more, none of which need your phone to run. The voice assistant handles most functions on its own. It only hands a general question off to an external system when it cannot answer it from the car's own knowledge. It is the kind of setup that, a few years ago, would have felt like a luxury reserved for the most expensive cars in the world, and here it is becoming the baseline. The center console is genuinely clever. It holds 2 wireless charging pads that can fill 2 phones at 25 watts each, with cooling airflow underneath so the phones do not throttle, and a magnetic hold so they do not slide around when you corner. For rear passengers, there is fast wired charging built into the seatbacks, 60 watts in the second row and 100 watts in the third. These are small numbers on their own, but together they tell you Audi designed this interior for a family that actually lives in the car. Then there is the roof, and this is the feature I keep coming back to. The panoramic glass roof can switch from transparent to opaque across 9 separate segments, so you can shade part of the cabin while leaving another part open to the sky. A pattern in the glass works with 78 built-in LEDs to light the roof at night, and the color of that light matches the cabin's ambient lighting. When you park and lock the car, the roof automatically turns opaque so nobody can see inside, and when you start it again, it returns to your last setting. The glass blocks more than 99% of UV light, which means Audi has done away with the traditional roller blind entirely. I have seen switchable roofs before, but combining the opening function, the switchable shading, and the integrated lighting in one roof is something genuinely new here. The sound system deserves a mention too, because Audi is doing something unusual with it. The upgraded Bang & Olufsen setup adds what the brand calls 4D sound. On top of 22 speakers and headrest audio, there are actuators built into the front seats that vibrate in time with the music, so you feel the bass as much as hear it. You stay in full control of how strong that effect is, and you can switch it off completely. But the idea is to make the cabin feel closer to a live concert than a car stereo. Now to the part that, in many markets, will define this launch. At least for now, in Europe, the new Q7 arrives with one engine family, a 3-liter V6 diesel. It comes in 2 outputs, 295 horsepower with 630 Nm of torque, or 241 horsepower with 500 Nm. Both use what Audi calls MHEV Plus technology, a stronger, mild hybrid system that can add up to 24 horsepower and 370 Nm when you pull away or overtake, and can even shift the car on electricity alone at low speeds when parking or crawling in traffic. What makes the diesel feel modern is the electric-powered compressor. Instead of waiting for the turbo to spool, an electric compressor builds boost pressure almost instantly, spinning up to 90,000 revolutions per minute in a quarter of a second. The result is that the engine responds the way an electric motor does, with torque arriving the moment you ask for it. I find this the most honest kind of electrification, using the electric hardware to fix the diesel's biggest weakness, which was always that pause before the power arrived. Here's the honest part of the picture. In Europe, the Q7 launches as a diesel-only car, and Audi has confirmed that the plug-in hybrid will not be available at launch. In a segment where rivals like the BMW X5 and the Mercedes GLE both offer plug-in hybrids right now, a diesel-only debut feels like a narrow opening hand. But there is real context here. This diesel is genuinely efficient. It can run on HVO renewable fuel that cuts emissions dramatically. And for the long-distance, high-mileage drivers who buy cars like this, a refined diesel still makes more sense day-to-day than a plug-in hybrid that needs constant charging to stay efficient. The plug-in hybrid is coming. It is simply not the car Audi chose to lead with. The Q7 shares its underpinnings with the latest A6 and the newest Q5, all built on Audi's new PPC platform. That platform origin matters, because it means the Q7 benefits from the same electrical architecture and the same suspension development as those newer cars, rather than carrying over the decade-old bones of the model it replaces. On the road, the standard steel suspension is tuned for comfort, but the air suspension options add real range, from a smooth cruise to a noticeably sportier setting that lowers the body. There is also a clever exit function that drops the car by 62 mm when you stop, just to make climbing in and out easier. The assistance technology runs deeper than the lighting tricks. There is a trained parking feature that lets you teach the car a specific maneuver, like the awkward entry into your own garage. And after learning it once, the Q7 will perform it on its own while you supervise. It can remember several of these routines. There is also a new emergency function that, if it detects the driver has stopped responding, can steer the car onto the shoulder and bring it to a controlled stop, then call for help. These are the features that quietly separate a modern luxury SUV from a merely expensive one. For the people who care about carrying things, the numbers are strong. The 5-seater offers up to 806 liters behind the second row, which is roughly 28.5 cubic feet, expanding to over 2,000 liters with the seats folded. The 7-seat version still gives you 722 liters behind the second row. Audi also offers an aluminum rail system in the trunk that lets you slide anchors and a cargo net into different positions, which is the kind of thing that quietly makes a long trip easier. The tailgate is powered as standard and opens with a foot gesture, and the car even projects a light under the bumper to show you where to put your foot. One more piece of context worth knowing. The new Q7 is built in Bratislava, just like both generations before it, and in Germany, it starts at around 87,900 euros, which is roughly $102,000 at today's exchange rate. The more powerful version sits near 90,500 euros, or about $105,000. Order books in Germany open this summer, with deliveries starting in September. The United States will get the Q7 later in the year, but with petrol and hybrid power rather than this diesel, so the American car will tell a different story when it arrives. There is one more touch worth pointing out, because it shows where Audi's head is at. From inside the car, on the central screen, you can choose between several different digital light signatures for the headlights and taillights, so the way your Q7 greets the world at night becomes something you personalize, like a ringtone for the car's face. It is a small thing, and yet it is exactly the sort of detail that makes an owner feel the car is theirs. Down at road level, the Q7 rides on wheels that run from 20 inches up to a first-ever factory option of 23-inch alloys from Audi Sport, with large ventilated brakes behind them to haul all of that mass down from speed. So where does this leave the new Q7? It is no longer the biggest Audi, and it no longer has to be. By stepping down a rung and letting the Q9 take the flagship role, the Q7 has been freed to focus on the things that actually matter to the people who buy it. Space that adapts to a family, a cabin that feels genuinely special without shouting about it, and lighting and roof technology that push the whole segment forward. The diesel-only launch in Europe is a cautious opening, and the plug-in hybrid will eventually fill the obvious gap. But as a statement of where Audi's most important family SUV is heading, this third generation looks like the most thoughtful Q7 the brand has built. And if this is the version that defines the next decade, Audi has chosen its priorities well. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this. Leave a comment below with your thoughts or questions. I read every single one. And don't forget to click the bell icon to get notified about my next upload. See you in the next video.